Julio-Claudian Dynasty. The family of Herod were long-standing enemies of the emerging Christian movement. It was Herod the Great who was originally responsible for the massacre of the innocents. According to the book of Matthew, after the birth of Jesus, the wise men of the East, meaning Magi, visited Herod to inquire about the birth of the King of the Jews, because they had seen his star in the east, referring to their purported skill as astrologers. Herod became alarmed at the potential threat to his power and sent the Magi to search for the child in Bethlehem. However, after they found Jesus, the Magi were warned in a dream not to report back to Herod. When Herod realized he had been outwitted by the Magi, he ordered the slaughter of all boys under the age of 2 in Bethlehem and the surrounding area. But Joseph as well was also warned in a dream and had fled with Mary and Jesus to Egypt, where the family stayed until Herod's death, before moving to Nazareth in Galilee. According to Mark 6:21, 29, Salome, a daughter of Herodias, danced before her uncle, Herod Antipas, 20 BC, died after 39 AD, son of Herod the Great and his successor, at his birthday celebration, and in doing so gave her mother the opportunity to obtain the head of John the Baptist. Herodias was married to her cousin Herod II, ca 27 BC, 33-34 AD, the son of Herod the Great, who was born of Miriam, the daughter of Simon the high priest. Although the New Testament accounts do not mention a name for the girl, this daughter of Herodias is often identified with Salome. Herod offered Salome a reward of her choice for performing a dance for his guests on his birthday. According to Mark's Gospel, Herodias bore a grudge against John for stating that Herod's marriage to her was unlawful, persuaded her daughter to ask for John the Baptist's head on a platter. Against his better judgment, Herod reluctantly acceded to her request. Among those baptized by John was Jesus of Nazareth, who began his own ministry in Galilee, causing Herod Antipas, according to Matthew and Mark, to fear that John had been raised from the dead. According to Luke 13:31, 33, a group of Pharisees warned Jesus that Antipas was plotting his death, whereupon Jesus denounced him as a fox and declared that he would not fall victim to such a plot because it cannot be that a prophet should perish away from Jerusalem. The Gospel of Luke states that Jesus was first brought before Pontius Pilate for trial, since Pilate was the governor of Roman Judea. On learning that Jesus was a Galilean and therefore under Herod's jurisdiction, Pilate sent him to Antipas. Antipas was pleased to see Jesus, hoping to see him perform a miracle, but when Jesus remained silent in the face of questioning, Antipas mocked him and sent him back to Pilate. Luke says that these events improved relations between Pilate and Herod despite their earlier enmity. Augustus, 63 BC, 14 AD, who ruled the Roman Empire from 27 BC to 68 AD, was the first emperor of the Julio-Claudian Dynasty, followed by Tiberius, Caligula, and Claudius, until the last of the line, Nero. Augustus was a Julian through his adoption by his great-uncle, Julius Caesar, 100 BC, 44 BC. Caesar's enmity toward Pompey, who had conquered Jerusalem and defiled the Holy of Holies, led to a positive attitude toward him among the Jews. 28 In a series of decrees, Caesar instituted a new administration in Judea, permitted the reconstruction of the walls of Jerusalem, restored to Judea the port of Jaffa, and confirmed Hyrcanus II, d. 30 BC, and his descendants after him as high priests and ethnarchs of Judea. Caesar's settlement favored the continued rise of the house of Antipater I the Aegimean, 113 or 114 BC, 43 BC, the founder of the Herodian dynasty and father of Herod the Great. According to Suetonius, when Caesar was assassinated, he was mourned by the Jews more than by any other nation, and for a long time after they continued to weep over his tomb. 29. The Julio-Claudian is so named because its members were drawn from the Julia and the Claudius family. Augustus commissioned the Roman poet Virgil, 70 to 19 BC, to write the famous Latin epic, the Aeneid, which legitimized the Julio-Claudian dynasty as descendants of the founders, heroes, and gods of Rome and Troy. Modeled after Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, the Aeneid follows the Trojan refugee Aeneas as he struggles to fulfill his destiny and reach Italy, where his descendants Romulus and Remus were to found the city of Rome. Following the typical dying god epics, Aeneas descends to the underworld, and there he speaks with the spirit of his father and is offered a prophetic vision of the destiny of Rome. Aeneas was the son of the prince Anchises and the goddess Aphrodite, Venus. Aeneas' father was a first cousin of King Priam of Troy, both being grandsons of Ilus, founder of Troy. The Julia derived their name from Iulus, or Julius, also known as Ascanius, the son of the Trojan hero Aeneas. The name Ascanius is also thought to have been derived from Ashkenazi, or Ashkuza, the name given to the Scythians by the ancient Akkadians. 30 After the Trojan War, Ascanius escaped to Latium in Italy, and had a role in the founding of Rome as the first king of Alba Longa. The Trojans were descended from Dardanus, a son of Zeus and the Pleiad Electra, one of the 7 daughters of Atlas the Titan. Dardanus has sometimes been confused with the king of Scythus by the same name, who was the father of Idea, the second wife of Phaeneus, the king of Salmydessus in Thrace. Idea's husband was the blind seer Phaeneus, plagued by the Harpies, who was encountered by Jason and the Argonauts in their quest for the Golden Fleece, when they landed in Thrace. At least one translation of Josephus' Antiquities renders the name of Dara, Darda, as Dardanos. 31 Darda, or Dara, is listed in Genesis 38 as a son of Judah's son Zerah, the same Zerah who had received the scarlet thread upon his wrist. Roman and Greek legends claimed that Zeus was a son of Saturn, called Cronus, and according to Sanchoniathon, an ancient Phoenician historian, Cronus, whom the Phoenicians called Israel, had a son Jihad. 32. Caligula, 12 to 41 AD, an associate of Antiochus IV, 17, after 72 AD, the last king of Commagene, was influenced by the Babylonian or Mithraic tradition of worshipping the king as the embodiment of the sun god, a cult which he tried to institute in the Roman Empire. A plan to place a statue of himself as Zeus in the Holy of Holies of the Jewish temple in Jerusalem was halted only after the intervention of Caligula's personal friend, Herod Agrippa, 10 BC to 44 AD, the king of Judea. Herod Agrippa was the king named Herod in the Acts of the Apostles, in the Bible. He was the grandson of Herod the Great, and son of Aristobulus IV and Berenice and brother of Herodias. The Acts of the Apostles, chapter 12, Acts 12:1, 23, report that he persecuted the Jerusalem church, having James son of Zebedee killed and imprisoning Peter around the time of a Passover. Upon the assassination of Caligula in 41 AD, Agrippa's advice helped to secure the ascension of Emperor Claudius, 10 BC, 54 AD, who was the grandson of Mark Antony and Octavia, and who eventually made Herod Agrippa governor of Judea. In 54 AD, after the death of Claudius, he was succeeded by his great-nephew Nero, 37 to 68 AD, the last of the Julio-Claudian line. After Claudius' death, and during political strife within Armenia, the Parthian king Vologases I, the great-great-grandson of Antiochus I of Commagene, placed his own brother Tiridates I on the Armenian throne. This invariably led to war, since it was Rome, and not Parthia who held the right of Armenian succession. Over the next several years, Roman legions, led by the general Corbulo, invaded Armenia and the two powers fought a virtual stalemate. From 59 to 63 AD, the Romans installed Tygraines VI as king of Armenia. Tygraines was the son of Alexander, the grandson of Herod the Great. His mother was the great-granddaughter of Mark Antony and Antonia. But like his father and paternal uncle, and his own son, Tygraines was an apostate to Judaism. Tygraines' sixth son was Alexander of Cilicia, who married Iotape of Commagene, the daughter of Antiochus IV. By AD 63, however, a peace treaty was negotiated in which Tiridates would lay down his crown, hence surrendering the Parthian right to place him on the throne, but it was agreed that he would travel to Rome where Nero himself would give him the throne under Roman authority. At the coronation Tiridates declared that he had come in order to revere Nero as Mitras. 33 In the same visit, according to Pliny, Tiridates the Magus brought Magi with him and initiated him Nero into magical feasts mystery rites. 34. Along with the Commagene and Julio-Claudian dynasties, a third line would be introduced into this mix, which would feature in not only the creation of Mitraism, but also its incorporation into Christianity. That dynasty was the hereditary priest-kings of Emissa, today Homs in Syria. Emissa was renowned for its temple of the sun, the place of worship of the god Elgabal, or Elagabalus, a derivation of Baal, who was adored in the shape of a black stone. Herod Agrippa II, AD 27/28, c. 92 or 100, the son of Herod Agrippa, gave his sister Drusilla in marriage to Azizus, king of Emissa. She had previously been married to Epiphanes, the son of Antiochus I of Commagene. However, Herod had stipulated that Epiphanes should embrace the Jewish religion, but Epiphanes finally refused. Azizus, in order to obtain Drusilla's hand, consented to be circumcised. She later divorced him though, in order to marry Antonius Felix, the procurator of Judea. Herod Agrippa II had an intimate friendship with the historian Josephus, having supplied him with information for his history, Antiquities of the Jews. Roger Beck attributes the formulation of the Mithraic cult to the father-in-law of Epiphanes, Tiberius Claudius Balbillus, a descendant of Antiochus I of Commagene, and a court astrologer to the Roman emperors Claudius, Nero, and Vespasian. Balbillus had also been a prefect of Egypt, and served as head of the Museum and Library of Alexandria. Balbillus accompanied Claudius on his expedition to Britain in 43 AD in a military capacity. When a comet had passed across the sky in either 60 or 64, signaling the death of a great personage, Balbillus tried to calm Nero's fears by noting that the usual solution was to murder prominent citizens, thus appeasing the gods. Nero agreed, killing many nobles. 35 Balbillus has two further namesakes among the Emissene priest-kings of Elagabalus in Rome, Tiberius Julius Balbillus and his relative, Titus Julius Balbillus, who lived in the second half of the 2nd century and the 3rd century AD. 36. The families of the Mithraic bloodline also contributed to the Roman attempt to suppress a Jewish revolt, which culminated in the capture of Jerusalem. Under Roman occupation, though rebellion had been sporadic, disturbances among the Jews of Palestine were frequent. In 67 AD, the future Emperor Vespasian and his son Titus arrived with the 15th Apollonian Legion, which had fought against the Parthians in Armenia, and captured Galilee. Jerusalem fell in 70 AD, when according to Josephus, 97,000 Jews were taken captive. 37 Jerusalem was destroyed, the temple itself was sacked, and the sacred contents of the Holy of Holies were carried back to Rome. The 15th Apollonian Legion, Legio 15 Apollinaris, was originally formed by Julius Caesar in 53 BC, but was destroyed in Africa. It was again founded in 41 40th BC, by Caesar's heir Octavian, Augustus, who chose the name Apollinaris, because he worshipped Apollo above all other gods. Following its campaign against the Jewish revolt, the Apollonian legion then accompanied Titus to Alexandria, where they were joined by new recruits from Cappadocia. It seems to have been a curious mix of these several elements, and after the legion had been transported to Germany, which erected their first temple dedicated to Mithras on the banks of the Danube. 38. The Romans' allies in suppressing the Jewish revolt had also included, not only Herod Agrippa, and Antiochus VI of Commagene, but also Sahaemus of Emissa, the brother to Gaius Julius Azizus, who was the first husband of the Herodian princess Drusilla. In addition, as noted by Roger Beck, Commagenean military elements under royal command were also engaged in the suppression of the Jewish revolt, and they would have been in extensive contact with Roman legionary and other troops, including those units identified among the earlier carriers of the new mystery cult, like the 15th Apollonian. Therefore, according to Beck, the mysteries of Mithras were developed within a subset of these Commagenean soldiers and family retainers and were transmitted by them at various points of contact to their counterparts in the Roman world. 39. According to Roman historian Cassius Dio, after the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, the worship overseen by the high priest ceased. The temple mount was covered over with rubble and a pagan temple dedicated to Jupiter was built when Hadrian, 76 to 138 AD, became Caesar. Hadrian installed two statues on the mount, one of Jupiter and another of himself. In addition, Hadrian expelled the Jews from Jerusalem altogether, only allowing them into the city on the fast of Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the lunar month of Av, a day of mourning for the destruction of the first and the second Jewish temples. This appears to have caused a second Jewish revolt with the intent of recapturing Jerusalem and restoring the temple. In response, Rome sent 6 full legions with auxiliaries and elements from up to 6 additional legions, which finally managed to crush the revolt. According to Josephus, the siege of Masada, a large hilltop in current-day Israel, by Roman troops from 73 to 74 AD, at the end of the First Jewish-Roman War, ended in the mass suicide of the 960 Sicarii rebels who were hiding there.